But, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha, because our intelligence community just came out and said in the last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election. And WikiLeaks is part of that, as are other sites where the Russians hack information. We don't even know if it's accurate information, and then they put it out. We have never in the history of our country been in a situation where an adversary, a foreign power, is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election. And believe me, they're not doing it to get me elected. They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he has praised Putin, maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants to do, maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons. But we deserve answers. And we should demand that Donald release all of his tax returns.
She is lying. She is deceitful. She is two-faced.
You are very clearly quoting from WikiLeaks. And what's really important about WikiLeaks is that the Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks for the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election. So I actually think the most important question of this evening, Chris, is finally, will Donald Trump admit and condemn that the Russians are doing this and make it clear that he will not have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged in the past? Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
The fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy.
He is old and has brown eyes and dementia.
With your theory of the case of why you believe President Trump is compromised.
Oh, good morning, Chuck. It's great to be here. Look, I think it is clear, I believed at the time in 2016, and I continue to believe, that Donald Trump is compromised by the Russians. And when I say that, I mean that they hold leverage over him that makes him incapable of placing the national interest, the national security, ahead of his own. That takes a variety of forms. I worked counterintelligence for over 20 years, and I recruited spies during that time, and I defended against those people who were being recruited in our government. One of the largest ways that people, foreign governments, gain leverage, certainly in the case of the president, is through financial entanglements. And I think when you take a look at the Trump financial enterprise, particularly its relationship with Russian monies and potentially those related to organized crime and other elements, that those interactions have placed him in a position where the Russians have leverage over him and are able to influence his actions.
Where's he going?
He's going to prison.
Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
This again?
They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
Gentlemen, I want to stay.
Russia.
Donald Trump has claimed he has no ties to Russia, but there is reporting in a brand new book rebutting all of that. It's called House of Trump: House of Putin by Craig Unger, claiming the Trump Tower effectively was a, quote, cathedral for Russian mafia-linked money laundering going all the way back to the 1980s. Reading from the book, quote, it's hard to imagine Trump had no knowledge whatsoever about what was going on, Unger writes. Now, President Trump, back in May of last year, denied this type of thing in that now famous NBC Lester Holt interview about any links to Russia.
No, people are stupid.
You talked about him being an unwitting Russian asset. Jonathan Chait, you went a step further in your cover story for New York Magazine this week. We can put it on screen, I think. You talked about whether President Trump has actually been a Russian asset for decades. Now, you acknowledge this is unlikely, but you're making the point that it's possible. Yeah. Talk us through it.
Shut your mouth. And he's easing sanctions against someone who's involved in the Mueller investigation, Oleg Deripaska.
You're a member of the judiciary. Do you believe the president right now has been an agent of the Russians?
Yes, I think there's more evidence than he is. Yes, and I think all the arrows point in that direction, and I haven't seen a single piece of evidence that he's not.
How about Chinese? Chinese?
This is part of a concerted Russian influence operation that never stopped. We've also seen a lot of what we saw during the campaign in terms of Russian social media intervention never stop.
The guy sucks.
Yeah.
Russia, 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 oh, Russia, big bad Russia. Ooh, what's going on, my fellow deplorables? Welcome back to the channel. The far left woke Democrats are having to eat crow today as the Durham Report has finally been released, vindicating Trump's claim that all of these Russia investigations were just a big fat hoax orchestrated by the Hillary Clinton campaign. But they didn't stop with the Hillary Clinton campaign. It didn't stop when he became president, and it didn't stop during the 2020 campaign, the 2020 election. The Democrats continued to use this narrative throughout Trump's entire presidency and throughout the 2020 election season. It is a hoax of epic proportion. This is bigger than Watergate. This is a huge political story that will be talked about for decades and decades. There will be movies made about this topic. Although Hollywood's woke, I do think this is too big for the media to ignore. If we remember, we backtrack to the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton's emails get hacked, the DNC gets hacked, and WikiLeaks exposes all this corruption inside the DNC. The DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has to resign amid the controversy. Then Hillary Clinton comes out and says, it's Russia, it's Russia, it's Russia. Russia's working with Trump. He's a puppet. He's Putin's puppet. All of this nonsense. Trump still wins the election amidst all of that Democratic libtard misinformation, fake news. Then he's president of the United States. They continue the sabotage. They continue to accuse him of being a Russian asset. No evidence to back up that theory, no evidence to corroborate that theory, but they continue to press him on this topic throughout his entire presidency. His campaign was wiretapped. The FBI continued to investigate him without any proof. The dossier, the old dossier, was fake. The FBI knew it was fake, and this whole thing was a giant hoax. Now, Trump has been calling it a hoax the entire time, but the leftist mainstream media has been pushing this as fact. Now, Donald Trump should sue any mainstream media outlet that said this was true, that pushed this propaganda, that pushed this narrative. And during those lawsuits, he will get access to their records, their emails, their text messages, just like Fox News in the Dominion lawsuit. And if any of those anchors texted their buddies like, hey, I know this is not true, but I'm pushing this narrative on TV, then Trump is entitled to a massive settlement. Because we learned yesterday from the Durham Report that this is all a bunch of crap. It was never true, and they knew it wasn't true. Here's an excerpt straight from the Durham Report. The office also considers, as part of its investigation, the government's handling of certain intelligence that it received during the summer of 2016. That intelligence concerned the purported approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26, 2016, as a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security services. We refer to that intelligence hereafter as the Clinton Plan intelligence. DNI John Radcliffe declassified the following information about the Clinton plan intelligence in September 2020 and conveyed it to the Senate Judiciary Committee. It was all fake. It was all fabricated. It was part of the Clinton campaign plan. They came up with this idea. They fed it to the FBI. They spoon-fed it to the FBI, and the FBI and the intelligence community ran with it. People should be going to prison over this. This report is not enough. This is one of the biggest scandals that our country has ever seen. And the mainstream media took it and they pushed it on the American people. They used it as propaganda, and this is criminal. Donald Trump should sue these people, these media networks. He should be entitled to a massive settlement, and people who pushed this, who were in the FBI and they knew this was a lie, have to go to jail. Barack Obama knew it wasn't true, Joe Biden knew it wasn't true, and Hillary Clinton knew it wasn't true. On August 3rd, 2016, within days of receiving the Clinton plan intelligence, Director Brennan met with the President, Obama, Vice President Biden, and other senior administration officials, including but not limited to the Attorney General and the FBI Director, in the White House Situation Room to discuss Russian election interference efforts. According to Brennan's handwritten notes and his recollections from the meeting, he briefed on relevant intelligence known to date on Russian election interference, including the Clinton plan intelligence. They knew about this. Obama knew about this. Hillary knew it wasn't true, still pushing it, and Biden knew it wasn't true. This did not just affect the 2016 election. This affected the 2020 election. They were still pushing Trump's a Russian asset narrative. So Trump lost the 2020 election by 40,000 votes. So if 20,000 people change their vote in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, he's still president of the United States. So there's probably 20,000 people out there that watch MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CNN, any of the woke mainstream media outlets that were persuaded to believe that this narrative was true, when in fact, it was all BS. It was all made up by the Clinton campaign. And even though there was no proof to back it up, everyone ran with it. Criminal. And Trump is rightfully so pissed off, and he is sounding off on the Durham Report. He tweeted on Truth Social, after extensive research, special counsel John Durham concludes that the FBI never should have launched the Trump-Russia probe. In other words, the American public was scammed. True, just as it is being scammed right now by those who don't want to see greatness for America. He went on to say, the Durham Report spells out in great detail the Democratic hoax that was perpetrated upon me and the American people. This is 2020 presidential election fraud, just like stuffing the ballot boxes, only more so. This totally illegal act had a huge impact on the election. With an honest media, we are looking at the crime of the century. Facts, 100% true. This is a scandal of epic proportions when you're talking about politics. You have Watergate, and then right up there with Watergate, you have this Russia hoax. This is criminal, and nobody's going to be held accountable because the people who perpetrated this crime are the people who are at the top of the deep state. You had Biden, the current president. You had Obama, the president at the time. You had Hillary Clinton, who we know is up to crazy political schemes all the time. Who knows how many people she's had whacked in her political career to shut them up? The deep state was involved in this. The intelligence community has to be cleaned out. I believe the solution to this is if you have been working in the FBI or the intelligence community for more than 10 or 15 years, you got to go. When Trump is reelected in 2024, he needs to clean house. Needs to go to the FBI and get rid of all the deep state actors. If you've been working there for over a decade, you're gone. If you're a career FBI agent, see you later. I'm sure there's a lot of good career FBI agents, but the risk of this stuff happening is too great. It's too crazy. This stuff is insane. This is stuff that they make movies about. This is criminal, and people need to go to prison. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I love you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until next time, Peace.